Now, having said all that, here, a couple caveats here. Remember that this was born in the life sciences ecosystem, okay, which is kind of peculiar and may not resemble, where each of you come from. These opportunities take forever sometimes to play out. If you're developing a new drug, and at the point where it goes from university or research institute into a company, whether an established company or a startup, that can be 8, 10, 12 years, okay? Largely governed by regulatory, but there are other issues there, of course, involved. That means that you're going to need patience. You're going to need, you saw the slide before with the different types of services that these things will require very early on. You have to have a lot of different role players, and role players in kind of a stage-specific sense. That management team that builds this thing, which is usually like an individual, it may not be the same one that goes and whose job it is to attract millions of dollars investment. And that team may then give way to one that has more experience in going through a regulatory process, like clinical trials for a drug or field trials and adoption from the USDA for an agricultural product, so on and so forth. So these things evolve. They last so long that there are multiple teams involved, multiple players on each of those teams. So that might be unique to more life sciences opportunities. Obviously, very risky, high cost of R&D, high cost to protect the patenting in every geography in the world that you want to keep it protected. And of course, the regulatory burdens are often huge wherever they come from. All that to say, unlike some opportunities where you can take a company, buy it basically, build some value very quickly, sell it for a lot of profit, hopefully, in a sense, flip it, that doesn't happen so much in our world. With that in mind, now, that's not to say that the BATON model doesn't apply to that kind of reality. It's just that I think the demographic of the service providers, of the entrepreneurs, probably changes quite a bit to reflect something where you're kind of in and out more quickly. I'm not sure exactly how much changes, but I suspect it's probably different. Anyway, let me shut up. Thank you very much. Happy to take questions. Happy to stay afterwards and talk. I've actually got some pamphlets if you're interested in the BATON program, and basically some of this in paper form, and cards and so forth. But thank you very much for the opportunity. Lee, thank you.
That you're working with that are stakeholders. Mm-hmm. You have project managers that are managing that whole process. That's you?
Well, it's me. Yes, it's me for those opportunities that don't yet have a CEO or whatever you want to call them. They're really probably more function like a COO at this stage, but someone who's really taken the reins and moving forward. Then I'm quite happy to delegate all that to them. But you're right. It sort of comes down to a project management exercise, but these things have so many variables. Obviously, a lot of things to manage, but a lot of ambiguity about where any one of those things are in the process. So, in service to exactly that, what I didn't mention is we're about to roll out a web portal for this, for communicating these opportunities from the university through us to the service providers, to the entrepreneurs, and ultimately incorporate a kind of a project management sort of capability to that. Not one that I manage, but one that the principals of this company can manage. Now, in absentia, in the absence of a CEO, then yeah, I probably coordinate that. I certainly don't make decisions, and that would be a conflict of interest. But just make sure that people are aware. And then there's an advisory board component to this too that I didn't go into, that where we get some input and some reality checks, but also maybe a little bit of project management, at least focusing on next critical activities given that we're going this direction? Or do we really still want to go in this direction? Does it make more sense? But where it's not an arbitrary or willy-nilly sort of decision-making process, but something that's more structured. Did that answer your question?
So the CEO is the driver of the whole thing?
Yes, and maybe half of these companies that we're working with now have CEOs on board with that role. The others, yeah, I'm not really a management team, but project manager might be a good description.
All right, so any other questions if we could hold for perhaps like after we do a quick raffle and if you can hang out for just a few minutes?
Sure.